All right, everyone. I am here and I'm going to call the meeting to order as president, seeing as the committee does not have an elected chair at this point in time. Today is Thursday, June 24th, 2021, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. And before we get started, I would just like to acknowledge that the SFSS, the physical location of the SFSS is located on the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, which includes the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Today, I am calling in from the unceded territories of the Katzie and Kwantlen First Nations. And I'm recognizing that I am a settler on these lands and an uninvited guest. I'm recognizing that these territories were never handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and that we're likely all calling in from occupied territories and recognizing what this means and the power that we have in pushing toward dismantling and disrupting colonial structures and standing in solidarity with Indigenous communities. Today is another day where we have really heavy hearts with the news that came out of Saskatchewan. It's really important, I think, that today we try our hardest to stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples where we can and check in on folks that we know, make sure that they are okay, share resources that they can access if they are undoubtedly having a difficult time, and just making sure that we are making that space for people to mourn and for people to process what's happening, because as settlers, it's beyond comprehension, I think, the devastation that this news has and continues to bring upon Indigenous peoples. And so with that, we'll begin with our roll call of attendance. I do just want to say right off the top on the record that I am here as president of the SFSS. I have the authority to call committees that do not have chairs. So today I will be presiding over the election of a chair later in new business from amongst members of this committee. And once that is completed, I'll likely stay for the purpose of the committee discussion item. But other than that, I will leave after that. So let's begin with the roll call of attendance, and we'll start with members of the committee. I'll call on your position. If you can please share your name, pronouns, and access needs, that would be great. We'll start with the computing science counselor.
Hi, my name is Ryan, pronouns he, him, his. All my needs are met.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm next on the list. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met. GSWS counselor.
Hey, everyone. My name is Devin. She, her, hers pronouns, and my access needs are met. I do have chicken on the stove, so if I run away, it's because my house is burning down.
No worries. The history counselor has not joined us yet. Let's hope that Alan does join us eventually. Next, the labor studies counselor.
Hi, my name is Justin. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you. We have our Science Undergrad Society counselor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zaid Laurie. My pronouns are he, him, his. And for accessibility needs, I'm just about to switch over from my phone to my desktop, so I'll be right back in just a couple moments.
No worries. Thanks, Zaid. Next, World Lit counselor.
Hi, my name is Sarah. Pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for this meeting, we do not have any society staff present. So that concludes our roll call of attendance for this meeting. So now we'll move on to item number 4 of the agenda, which is consent agenda. And we'll look at motion 4.1. And I'll read the question now. Be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. And at this time, I will ask if there are any objections to the one motion under the consent agenda, which is 4.1.1, adoption of the agenda. Okay, seeing none, seeing no objections, rather, we'll consider the consent agenda approved by unanimous consent with no objections having been registered. And so now I'll move into new business. Motion 5.1, appointment of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers Chair. I submitted this motion and we will read the question now. Be it resolved to appoint X as Chair of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers for the 2021-2022 year. Is there a mover for the motion?
Labor
Deb.
Studies.
I heard Justin first, so Justin seconds. Justin moves. Devin, would you like to second?
Yes, I would.
Okay, Devin seconds. So I'll explain the purpose of this motion in a minute, but actually I would like to move to amend the motion to include something I forgot to include, which is I would like to add a second be it resolved clause to read, be it further resolved to appoint Y as the Vice Chair of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers for the 2021-2022 year. Would someone like to second that amendment?
CS seconds.
Ryan seconds, thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendment? I'll put the wording in the chat, but essentially I forgot to include the Vice Chair appointment in the motion. And most committees do have a Vice Chair as well, so I think it is important that Oversight does too. Okay, cool. Put the amendment to a vote real quick. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent on the motion? All right, that amendment is carried. Thanks everyone for indulging me on that for a moment. So here is what we are going to do. I think we're all kind of, hopefully from council, familiar with the process of holding elections for chairs or committee members. If you are interested in being chair of the Oversight Committee, in a moment here, I will open the floor for nominations for chair of the committee. You may nominate yourself or another member of the committee to be chair or vice chair. If you do nominate someone else, that individual does need to accept the nomination in order to be considered a candidate for the chair. If there is only one individual who puts their name forward as chair, then that person will win by acclamation and we'll move to amend the motion to strike X accordingly. If there are two people, we'll move to a mini election whereby both, or if there are more than two, we'll have to give a 60-second, up to 60 seconds spiel about why they want to be chair. Convince everyone here why they think they are the best to run this committee. And yeah, essentially, the chair is responsible for chairing the meetings, is responsible for putting together the agendas, is responsible for the general coordination of the committee, kind of the overseer of everything that happens here. And, you know, a general rule of thumb is that the chair often drives the direction of where the committee goes and is kind of a leader amongst the committee members. The vice chair is there to chair meetings in the absence of the chair. But additionally, the vice chair often provides a lot of other support, such as, you know, keeping track of the speakers list, taking on any duties from the chair that they may need assistance with. Generally kind of just another kind of direction setter and helper within the committee. So is everyone comfortable with the process? We can move forward with that? Okay, wonderful. So we'll start off with chair elections first, and then we'll move to the vice chair. So I'm going to start by calling for nominations for the chair of the Oversight Committee. This is my first call for nominations. Are there any nominations out there?
I'll nominate.
You'll nominate who?
Myself, sorry.
Okay, Zaid nominates himself. Are there any, this is my second call for nominations. Second call. Okay, this is my third call for nominations. Third call. The window is closing. Okay, the window's closed. So seeing as Zaid is the only motivator for the position of chair, Zaid has won by acclamation. And in a moment, when we're done the vice chair elections, we will move ahead in amending the motion to replace X with Zaid Larry. But now we will move to the vice chair appointment, election rather. So same process. I'm going to put out a call for nominations, and if anyone would like to be vice chair or would like to nominate anyone else for vice chair, this will be the opportunity to do so. So we will begin now. Are there any nominations for the position of vice chair of the committee? Devin, please.
I would actually like to nominate Sarah if Sarah would like to. I think she would be a really awesome vice chair and is just shown to really be involved in council.
Thank you, Devin. So Devin has nominated Sarah. Sarah, do you accept that nomination?
Sure. Thank you. Wow, that was unexpected. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Okay, so we have one nomination received for Sarah. I'll put out a second call for nominations.
Computing science self-nominates.
Okay, Ryan.
Sorry, I was getting snacks.
That is all right. So there is now a second nomination for vice chair, computing science, Ryan. This is my third call for nominations. Third call. Okay, the window is closed. And so now we have two candidates for the position of vice chair. And so the process dictates that each candidate has up to 60 seconds to motivate for why they think they are best for the position. And then after that, committee members may also weigh in on who they would be supporting for the position. So we'll go in the order of nominations received. And so, Sarah, if you would like to speak to your nomination, you have the floor for up to 60 seconds.
Thank you. Well, okay, first I wanted to say that this is a very exciting opportunity, but it's a position I have never held before, so it's very new. So if actually Ryan has more experience or has more to offer, then I would be okay with just having him as vice chair.
Okay, cool. Do you want to speak to your own candidacy though?
No, no.
Okay.
Well, I mean, okay, so here's the thing. It's a very exciting opportunity, but I do feel like I might not do the greatest job because I don't have any experience. And so if nobody else wanted to take the position, then I would gladly do it. But as Ryan does want to be vice chair, then maybe he can. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay. No worries. Okay, thank you, Sarah. We will move on to the next nomination received, and that is Ryan.
Hello. So my name is Ryan. I've been the computing science counselor for 3 years now, and I previously sat on the Oversight Committee. I was looking forward to just working with Zaid again, because, as many of you know, he was council chair last year. Honestly, great guy to work with. One of the best council chairs I've worked with. Won't name any names. Hi, Gabe. But I think Oversight Committee plays a very pivotal role, especially as we're coming into one of the first real years of our new council structure. Shaping our position within the SFSS, within student government, how our power is going to manifest for, social good for the students. And I was looking forward to making sure this committee was, at the center of all that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. And thank you both for motivating for the role. Now is the opportunity for other members of the committee to share who they would like to support if they would like to share. So the floor is open. Devin, go ahead.
I am very happy to either have Sarah or Ryan as vice chair. It's just more of a general comment. I am vice chair. I joined council like less than a year ago, and I'm going in with very little experience, but everyone is so helpful. So just in general, for going into if you have other committees, like taking that opportunity is really helpful in learning how to do it. And don't be afraid if you don't have as much experience to take those type of opportunities. So Sarah, I still think you would be great. I think Ryan would be great too, but just in the future, if you wanted to be a vice chair of any committee or even council, I think you'd do a great job.
Thanks, Dev. Thanks, Dev. Yeah, they're great learning opportunities, especially to be a vice chair. I was, sorry, this is a bit of a sidebar, but I was vice chair of the board of directors last year. And I think I only chaired 1 or 2 meetings, but it was a good learning opportunity. Yeah. Does anyone else want to speak to the candidacy of either of these 2 folks? Justin, go ahead.
I know, Sarah, you're fine with if Ryan had the position, but I just wanted to know a little bit more about kind of your experiences. And even though I feel like you think you don't have like the skills and experience, like I think one thing here is that it's a really safe environment. So like Gabe and Devin said, obviously it's a learning opportunity too.
Yeah. Sarah, you can respond to that if you want.
Yeah, sure. So this is technically my first time as counselor. I joined a little bit earlier, so before May 1st, because the last World Lake counselor couldn't continue. And so it's not entirely new what we're doing, but let's say pretty new. And with this, I do have a lot of excitement and kind of I just want to do my best as counselor. I have been part of the World Lit Student Union for well, since I started studying at SFU, basically, which is fall last year. And I was part of the SAS exec team for 1 term as well. But that's about it. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Sarah. Zaid, you have the floor.
Thank you. First off, I'd just like to say that, yeah, I'm happy to work with both of you. I've worked with both of you on various things, so I think I know both of you pretty well. And, you know, whoever does get appointed, you know, I can't wait to work with you. I think the one question I had was just regarding how many committees each of you are on. Just that since this committee is quite new, I'm going to share the terms of reference to both of you. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with setting up kind of the committee structure and whatnot. So it's going to be a lot of work for myself and the vice chair to kind of flesh out some ideas in between meetings. So I just want to know how many committees you both are on, just so that you also keep in mind the kind of commitment that there's going to be from the vice chair.
Thank you, Zaid. So Sarah, how many other committees are you on?
I'm on the universities in academic affairs as well, and I'm working on maybe bringing back the outreach committee, which is still kind of like a work in progress proposal. So quite a lot, I think, especially considering I'm not very good with time management, or I'm not as good as Gabe. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Ryan, how about you?
My only other subcommittee right now is finance. I don't have the time that I did last year.
Cool. Yeah, and Justin has said in the chat, also would be helpful to note how many hours you can contribute to the Oversight Committee, given if you have a part-time job or you're taking courses or anything else. Yeah. Any other discussion from committee members? Sarah, I saw you on mute. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to kind of answer the question, Justin, or the comment, but I guess, yeah, I'll just answer it. So at the moment, I'm not taking any courses, but usually I take 3, which is an okay amount. Well, I'm also the World what's the name? Oh, DSU rep. So I also have that on the side.
Thank you. Ryan, I don't know if you want to answer the same question as well, if you want.
Well, this is where it gets weird because my answer is the same. I'm currently taking a semester off for health reasons, but I average 3 courses a semester. I also spend time within my own DSU helping the executive team and the social media team, so the Discord, the Facebook, the Twitter we don't use. But in general, I mean, I have the hours to spare, right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll just say from general experience, and being on committees before and having been a committee vice chair and the board vice chair, it's not a crazy amount of work, but it is also what you make of it, right? It's one of those things where if you want to be more involved, that's kind of a choice you get to make. If you'd like to kind of be a vice chair where you only kind of step up when the chair is absent, that's totally cool. But sometimes vice chairs also like to take up more responsibility, like assisting in brainstorming or offline projects or all of that. So in my experience, being vice chair of committees can be very flexible, but it's also what you make of it. Okay. Any other discussion? Or does everyone feel comfortable moving to a vote? Because now we do have to vote. We have to choose. Okay. Well, let's do that now then. Does everybody know who they're going to be casting their vote for? Okay. Let me get a piece of paper and I'll just call on, seeing as we're a pretty small committee, I'll just call on folks and ask them who they will be voting for. My pen is dying, but I'll definitely work on that. Okay. Ryan, how are you casting your vote?
I wasn't aware that was an option. I suppose I will vote for myself.
Yes, you are a member of the committee. You have a vote, even it is for yourself.
So it's a vote of 5 instead of 3.
There are 5 committee members, so yes. Yeah. So Ryan casts a vote for himself. I will not be voting. I could cast a vote because I am technically a voting member, but that would not be appropriate. I will ask Devin, how are you voting?
I would like to vote for Sarah.
All right. Alan is not here. Justin, how are you voting?
I would like to vote for Sarah.
Zaid, how are you voting?
I'm going to vote for Ryan.
And Sarah, how are you voting?
I'll be voting for Ryan as well.
You're voting for Ryan?
Yeah, I know, weird. But I think, well, thank you for the support. I appreciate it. But I think I would like to really just commit to the outreach committee if it does become something that we bring back as well. And I guess as I'm the head of that project, then I would be like vice chair or chair or something. So yeah, I'll vote for Ryan, and then thank you for the support. from the lobby.
Okay. Well, here, hold on a minute, because technically, Alan has actually just joined us. So let's just hold on a minute. Hi, Alan. So you joined us at a really interesting time because we're now, we're on the motion to elect a chair and a vice chair. We've already gone through the motion to elect a chair. So Zaid has been elected chair. Now we're on a motion to elect a vice chair. We have two candidates right now. One is Sarah and one is Ryan. And I know we just finished going through everyone, asking who they're voting for. And I know you weren't here when they were motivating, but if you would like to cast a vote, this is your opportunity. Would you like to vote for one of these two nominees for vice chair?
Well, I missed the motivation, so I'm unsure if I should, just out of formality. But what is the current like currently? Are you just like waiting for another person to vote? Is this everyone that's here for the Oversight Committee? Is it just 7 people?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah, everyone has cast their vote, and I was just about to announce the result, but if you would like to cast a vote, it's your choice, or you may choose to abstain.
I think it would be best if I abstain, just out of respect to the people who have voted.
Okay. So in that case, all the votes have been cast, and Sarah has received 2 votes, and Ryan has received 3 votes. So Ryan is the elected vice chair of the committee at this point. And now we have Zaid as our chair and Ryan as the vice chair. And so we'll move to amending the motion to reflect that. So I'd like to move to amend the motion to strike X with Zaid Lowry and strike Y to read Ryan Van Sickle. So is there a seconder for that motion?
Sarah seconds.
Sarah seconds. Thanks, everyone. And seeing as we just had a pretty lengthy discussion, we'll put the amendment to a vote, amendment to the main motion on a vote. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent on the motion. If you'd like to dissent or abstain, please unmute your mic, or not unmute, please use the Zoom raise hand feature. But I'm seeing no objection, so the amendment is carried, and we'll move back to the main motion. And I'll give it one more read just for good measure. Be it resolved to appoint Zaid Lowry as the chair of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers for the 2021-2022 year. Be it further resolved to appoint Ryan Van Sickle as the vice chair of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers for the 2021. Did I say chair? Vice chair of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers for the 2021-2022 year. And I think we'll put the question to a vote again because we've had pretty substantive discussion. All those in favor of the main motion seeking unanimous consent. And seeing no objections to the motion, this is carried unanimously. And at this time, I'll stay for discussion item 6.1, but I am no longer the chair. So Zaid, I'll pass the chair over to you.
Awesome, thank you. Well, it looks like we're going to be moving just straight into item 6 now, discussion items with 6.1, purpose of the committee. I'm sure, Gabe, you wanted to speak on this, or was this put forward just for us to have the discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to speak about the purpose of the committee. Zaid, I know you were also pretty involved in the actual formation of this committee. So if you do want to speak, I guess, to the purpose of it and the function of it, you're more than welcome. I think that would maybe be more appropriate if you would like to, rather than me giving that explanation, but I am happy to jump in and fill any gaps if that's all right.
Yeah, sure, we can do that. But I'm just going to re-upload here again our terms of reference. So this is kind of the guide to what this committee is about if you scroll down to page 109. But just talking about the general purpose of why we put this committee, why we made this committee and carried it over from council last year. Essentially, the point here really is to make sure that there's accountability for the executive officers, last year the board, to be making sure that they're fulfilling their duties under the SFSS. It's really to provide that kind of counter, or I don't really, I think it's oversight. It's in the name, really. That's what we're trying to provide here. It's specifically also to look through the work that's being done by the executives, because I know not everybody reads the work reports, but that's part of the thing that we're around here for, to look through those, provide any feedback or any thoughts there, look if there's any kind of discrepancies or whatnot. I think if we move to, okay, so I don't know if you guys have opened the document, but you can look underneath some of the kind of actions that this committee can take regarding investigations to look into misconduct or some kind of inconsistencies in behavior by members of the executive committee. Yes, Sarah, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was actually wondering the other day about the work reports and how it's being done at the moment and how we are gonna come and do something with them. So it was okay. So I guess what I'm asking is, at the moment, how are the work reports being processed or evaluated? I don't know what are we doing with them?
So that's really up to us to decide. At the moment, when it comes to work reports, it's essentially up to the VP Finance, though with her leave of absence, it's Corbett to collect them from everyone by the due date, to check out whether everybody's actually submitted their work reports on time, and then to basically to file them with is the communications coordinator or staff to get them put on the website, and to also follow up and carry out any penalties should executives be late with their reports. So for us, that's going to be a big point of discussion for us, is to look at how work reports are currently being done, looking at the information that's being conveyed by them, and then kind of deciding and providing feedback to the VP Finance. And I believe also it comes underneath the purview of the VP Administration as well, to look at what kind of things could be changed, and how effective it is as an evaluation of, I guess, work being completed. So like that's something that's definitely going to be a big focus for us, really giving our feedback and looking through some of the executive work reports, keeping kind of a track to make sure that they're all being uploaded on time and that they're actually being submitted and stuff. Make sure that the VP Finance is doing their job with following up with them missing. That's been a big issue in like past years, especially just that there's been like no consequences, I guess, for not having work reports. I mean, they were only implemented in the past 2 years, but prior to that, they were actually like outlawed by, or they were, I don't know, outlawed's the right word, but they were kind of struck out by one board, and then there's no kind of record for what's being done. So it's more establishing this practice, as Gabe was saying, really, because like last year and the year before, there's still like the implementation of them was going on. So, there wasn't a whole lot of clarity for how things are supposed to go. And I mean, not all students do read them or whatnot. It's more, I guess, for people in council to kind of see what's happening, or any interested students. But again, I kind of digress. That's a big discussion that we're going to be having, probably just at our next meeting, to really get into where we want to go with that. But I think moving back to, hopefully that kind of answers your question there. It's really something that we're just going to be considering as a group later on. But just talking about really what the Oversight Committee is about is, yeah, again, it's the accountability piece there. So just keeping track if there's any kinds of misconduct as well that's being carried out by executive officers. I can't really think of an example off the top of my head, but it's really to make sure that there's a proper investigation of any kind of allegations of misconduct, and that there's a process set up as well, which is something that we're going to have to be setting up with, like, how this kind of thing works. So there's a lot of I guess open-ended policy for this committee at the moment. There's a lot of this is going to be us discussing and kind of fleshing out a lot of the procedure that we want to take with things. So it's kind of hard to say what it's going to look like later on, but I mean, I think you guys probably understand what the general idea is to really investigate anything that might be harming the society or going against, I guess, the duties and the will of council. Not sure if I covered everything, Gabe. You can feel free to step in there.
Yeah, Zaid, no, I think you touched mainly on it. The committee does have some special powers, some what we call delegated authority. The committee itself does have the ability to reduce the stipends of executive officers after an investigation has occurred into any kind of wrongdoing or incomplete work reports or lack of transparency thereof. When it comes to decisions like that the committee makes, the standing order does provide some requirements that the committee does need to provide in order to make those decisions. So, for example, if the committee is to enact a stipend reduction, they need to include things in a written report, such as the sources of data they use to justify that action, what bylaw or policy that was being breached that resulted in the enactment of that reduction. The committee also does, for lack of a better term, essentially has subpoena power of executive officers. Execs can choose not to come. However, I would definitely not refuse to come, or I don't think anyone else on the executive committee, but I can't speak for future execs. That kind of report would also need to include the findings and any conclusions of an investigation and actions that the committee took or is recommending to council to take. When it comes to things like stipend reductions or anything that the committee itself does on delegated authority, that decision can actually be appealed by an executive officer to council as a whole, should they choose that should they believe that the committee did not make that decision based on fact, or there was some kind of lack of due process, or that the committee wasn't acting in the good faith. And in that case, that appeal would go to the entirety of council, and council would essentially have to vote on the same decision that the committee took. It's kind of like if you think about a court, and a court makes a decision, and this is where my knowledge of government comes in. A plaintiff does not agree, no, the respondent does not agree with the decision that was made by the court, then they can appeal that to a higher court. That is kind of the same idea here. Except obviously we're not a court, we're a society, and we're a committee. So yeah, I think that's the only thing I would add, Zaid, to your explanation.
For sure, thank you. Yeah, when it comes to some of the powers that this committee does have, we'll be going through them quite thoroughly when we go through the standing orders. I believe next meeting, that's probably going to be one of our first items that we're going to be going through, is really to get everybody acquainted with our standing orders and kind of the limits of and the scope of some of these authorities that we have. Yeah, what was the next item on the agenda? Let me pull that up quickly. I am just being mindful of the time. Where did I put the agenda? Oh, there it is. All right, so I think we can move on then if nobody has anything else they'd like to say regarding the purpose of the committee.
It's not regarding the purpose of the committee, but if that is it for this discussion item, then I'll be heading out so you guys can do what you need to do. Bye, everyone.
All right, see you, Gabe.
Zay, just remember to stop the recording when you are done sharing.
All right.
Cool. Bye.
See you. All right, cool. So moving on to now item 6.2, goals for the year. So now that you all have a sort of a rough understanding of what this committee is for, again, this is a pretty new committee, especially for the board. So and with our new power structure as well. So there's going to be a lot of, I guess, changes or a lot of new things that we're going to have to figure out together regarding the kind of processes that are going to be carried out here and kind of how we're going to be administrating some of the responsibilities that we have. So this item is open for the floor here. If you have anything that you'd like to say. Yes, Devin?
Yeah, it's more of, I guess, more of a question as well. I was curious if we could have somebody like Aisha from SFSS staff come in and talk to us or do some sort of development session. I think having a conversation with her regarding maybe best practices could be really helpful. I've done development with her before on HR and personnel, and she was really helpful. So it's just a suggestion. I don't know if people would think that would be helpful, but maybe some sort of development session, as we are been given a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we can look into. Yeah, I'll reach out to Aisha and see if there's some kind of session that she can, or workshop that she could do with us regarding, I guess, just how our dynamic is going to be with the rest of council and the board as well. Well, not the board, we are the board habit. But yeah, anyone else have anything they'd like to say? When it comes to the goals for the year, as I was saying before, a big thing is really getting this committee up and started, and also really working through our standing orders there and developing a lot of like our processes here. So whether that's how do we want to be, I guess, keeping track of like work reports and things, or giving feedback. It's really quite new. So there's a lot of like this committee, it's really up to us where we want to take it and how we want to develop it. Yes, Justin.
I was gonna say that typically I think in the real world, like our kind of committee would kind of mirror like if there was like an executive team, which in this case would be the executive committee, then the board would typically be like the oversight of those executives, similar to how this committee would be the oversight to the executive committee. So I think if we're looking for like just building the foundation and the structure, looking outwards to see how other nonprofits do it would be like a good starting point. And I think, yeah, if we have any resources, feel free to share. And I think another good starting point would be like communication wise, would it be better to like, you know, share resources on the drive, or, you know, on our Slack, no, not Slack, Discord.
So regarding that, with sharing our resources with each other here, I'm thinking of making a drive on my account here, and I'll share that with everybody. We can also keep any kinds of documents or records and resources and whatnot all in that drive, just for you know, kind of clean storage there, because it can get a little bit messy in the Discord, especially if we're talking at the same time. So I'll invite you guys all into that folder. But yeah, that's a great idea. Looking at some other models, that's something that we should consider. I would like to look at other student unions, especially. I'm thinking I'm supposed to be talking to the AMS anyways, so I think I can take a look at their structure that they have. They do have a similar council structure to us, but I'm not sure what kind of, I guess, oversight body they have outside of their regular council meetings. So yeah, that's an idea. We could do just on research online to look at what kind of models exist for other nonprofits, see how it's been implemented for, I guess, other boards. But yeah, there's also part of it is really just us looking at what kinds of issues we've had also in the past. Last year, the reason that we gave these powers to council this year is because council for its existence hasn't had any real ability to do anything, whether they like it or not. In regards to if the board goes rogue or does something, there was no way we could actually have any meaningful action outside of writing a letter, which I mean that does put like political pressure, but there wasn't anything we could do through the society itself. Did Alan?
I believe Alan had to go. Yeah.
Right. So his question was regarding help counselors as well, and to implement strategies for assistance in standardizing reports. So yeah, that's one of the goals again that I want to bring up is like when it comes to work reports, that's one of the main I guess pieces of evidence or documentation that we will be working with from the executives. So something we'll be working with either the VP Finance, I think it's the VP Finance that oversees kind of the work reports on the board side. So working with them to provide feedback and help kind of standardize work reports. As you've seen, there is like a general template, but like the amount of information is different for everyone. So that was a question I had actually, Justin. It was last year. So with the naming of this committee, we're here to be keeping oversight of the executives solely, like that's our focus. But for the executives, specifically the VP Finance, part of their job is to be keeping track of whether counselors are submitting their work reports and whatnot as well, right? So it indirectly does fall on us to be tracking that, but I don't think that's going to be the focus. But like when it comes to the work report template, it's the same kind of design that we use and executives use. It's the same one. I don't know if you guys have looked at the executive work reports, but they're done the same way as we've been doing them, except that they're much longer, of course. But yeah, like when it comes to work reports and the actual information that's included, that's something that we're going to be working on is like how much detail do we really need, what's useful, what's not, what would students want to see so that they can have some information on what their leaders are doing during these periods of time. So there's a lot of discussion that needs to be had there, and to help kind of standardize that, maybe because like I don't think there has been any kind of development session on work reports, so that would be something that we could do and organize with the VP Finance. Because like when they were sent out, there wasn't like much of a guide. It was more there's the template, fill it out. So developing something so that it'll go next year as well, help everybody have the same expectations, and so that things go pretty smoothly. Yes, Justin.
My direct response to that was like, I mean, first of all, yeah, I think the workshops are a really good idea because like at first I just got the template. I'm like, wait, how do I fill this out? Like, would this go under administrative work or would this go under meetings? Like, I don't know. So that's a great idea. I think in terms of like the reporting relationship, like I think typically how if the VP Finance oversees the work reports, as such, I don't think we would, like, given our limited number of time, really, what we could ask them to do is to have like a summary of the things and develop a template, a reporting template to us. I don't think it would be really feasible for us to oversee and review everyone else. And I think it would also double down on the work a bit, because if it's the VP Finance's responsibility, and then we're also making sure that the VP Finance is doing properly, that just creates a lot of unnecessary.
So with that, I mean, I don't think it's not our duty to be reading through everybody's work report there. Specifically for counselors, I don't think that's not a good use of our time, especially considering that like their counselor work reports really have just two main things in there that make up the majority of their hours, which is, you know, our dev sessions and our council meetings, and then their committee meetings. So those three items make up basically 4 + 3 + 1. So basically we get 8 hours out of the 10 is already there. So there's not, for them, it's less reading the content. It's more seeing that they're being submitted on time, and if the VP Finance is actually going through and speaking with them, or if they're just ignoring it or something. So that's where we come in for that. When it comes to the executive work reports, I do want us to be looking at them, because if we do get a summary from the VP Finance, I mean, that's more work for them to do, and then it's another report that we have to make sure if that's, how do we know if that's also accurately encompassing what's being done so by the executives and whatnot. It's not like we don't have to read through all the content like very like, you know, in depth. Like you can skim through them. I've been doing that with all of the executive work reports already, and I mean, it's pretty quick. I just scroll through, I can just see the titles for things and the hours. So yeah, it's not that much work, I think. It's one of the main things for our committee. But yeah, with the counselors, that's something that the VP Finance needs to be doing, and making sure they're being. Oh yes, did Ryan have a list somewhere?
No, sorry, you covered it. That was like 10 minutes ago.
Oh shit, I'm sorry. I was not looking at...
It's okay. It's okay. This is great discussion. Although I do have to go in 5 minutes.
Yes, we're coming up on time. Sorry, I can go on and on about like oversight, because this is the reason I joined council in the first place. I didn't really join for any other reason other than seeing how, you know, our board of directors for many years was basically, they had the society run by a bunch of staff, while they would just have meetings and just, you know, kick around, taking pay and not doing anything, or not having any work that we can actually see. So, you know, that was a big reason why I joined council in the first place, was because I wanted to know what are they doing, and what's, you know, why are like something, there was no measure of accountability, there's no transparency, and that's really what motivated me here to be in the first place, and that's what I'm hoping we can all really work towards with this group. But is there another person in here that was listed? Yes, Devin.
Yeah, I just, one of my goals for this year, and I'm sure this is not that controversial, is judging by what happened for those who were around kind of last term, I think having really open communication with the execs about like what we ask for them, because there was a lot of debate last term regarding work reports, and both kind of sides having differing perspectives of what work reports mean and what they kind of mean for accountability. So I think one of the things we should really focus on this term is making sure exec knows what we expect of them, knows what council expects of them, especially as we are now a new committee, and like setting those standards. So yeah, I just hope we can have really open communication with the exec team, and them knowing what we're asking of them in order to hold them accountable.
Yeah, 100%. We do want to be making sure that there's clear expectations, and that it's understood between council and the executive committee. And yes, Justin?
Devin, just piggybacking off what you just said, I believe you're also on the HR and personnel committee, right? So yeah, I think but like, if possible, like what you learned there, there's actually a really strong parallel, because I think the concepts of performance management would also apply in this case, overseeing the executives. I mean, coming from an HR background, it's, yeah, I think how like the HR personnel committee, like some of the concepts would definitely apply here, and I think it's really great having the committee to bring that perspective as well.
Awesome. Just looking at our agenda. So some of the secondary items, some of our other duties, I guess I'm just going to quickly cover, is that, you know, if there is any kind of evidence of misconduct or harassment or anything that's, you know, unbefitting an executive, whether that comes from a counselor or from a student, part of the job is also for us to be investigating anything like that, and then gathering evidence, and then looking at whether this is a recommendation we want to bring to council to pursue. So in the case regarding, it was a couple years ago, right, where I'm not sure how new you guys are, but a couple of years ago, we did have a president who was impeached regarding mishandling of, was it, I think it was sexual harassment that happened within the board. So because of that, there was difficulty with like figuring out what is the process to go through with bringing, you know, impeachment or anything like that. So now we're also a body that is like, if there's something that needs to be reported on regarding whether it's even a council member or an executive, that can also be brought towards us to investigate and then bring forward to the rest of council. Yeah, he punched him. That was disturbing. But yeah, lots of discussion to be had. This is going to be one of the more dynamic and I guess busy committees. We do need to discuss quickly before we end kind of how often do we want to be meeting. And I think when it comes to scheduling, what I'm going to do is send out a let us meet to all of you for your general availability for the rest of this semester during the week. And then we can hopefully find a time that works for all of us. And then going forward for following semesters, you know, we can change that up as we see fit. So when it comes to meeting, I'm thinking we can meet on a bi-weekly basis. I'm not sure. How does that sound to everyone? I don't know if weekly is would be, I think weekly might be too much. There might not be a whole lot to discuss as a group because there are things that can be discussed, you know, either through our Discord or just, you know, through other ways of communication. When we meet, it's going to be more for, yeah, discussing, I guess, the work reports and, you know, any ideas and whatnot. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Justin, how does that sound to everyone else? All right, perfect. And I think that kind of covers our last item then for scheduling future meetings. Sorry, I talked a whole lot today. There's a lot I wanted to say regarding this because it's just been one of the, you know, the big things I've really wanted to see happen. But, you know, with last year with getting involved in council, I was really, as chair, I was really busy and I didn't really get to see and help the oversight committee kind of grow. Sort of. I don't know. I think it was Gabe that really introduced the oversight committee as like a thing, but yeah, he and I worked together on making the terms of reference and kind of envisioning it for this current structure that we have. Yes, Sarah?
I probably missed it, but I can't find the agenda. Well, I mean, it's late, but
are you not on the mail list? I'll check to make sure you're on the mail list. I can send you today's agenda if you'd like, but hopefully I'll be able to get the authority for the mail list over from Gabe so that I can manage it. But yeah, I'll check that.
It's okay. I don't need the one for today. I just making sure that everything was okay because I keep checking my emails and I'm not getting anything.
Okay, I'll check that out. Make sure that you're on there. So you can get
Thank
all of
you.
our future communications. But I think that's it. We've come up on time now, so I'm going to move us into adjournment then. I think I just lost the agenda. I believe it's item 7. Where did the agenda go? There we go. All right, we are now moving into item 7, adjournment. Item 7.1, be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 5:02 p.m. Would anyone like to move this motion?
I'll move.
Justin.
Ryan moves. Justin, would you like the second?
Yeah.
All right, Justin seconds. I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this motion. If you'd like to object, please do so now. Seeing no objections, this motion has been carried unanimously. All right, we're now adjourned, everybody. I'm going to turn off recording.